Welcome to the second video in section 3, adding and subtracting integers symbolically. The focus on this video is developing a rule for subtracting integers. So here I'm going to give you some addition and some subtraction statements. Then I want you to determine if you notice any pattern here. So here I have 4 plus -2, and here I have 4 minus +2. Well, the answer is both the same, both 2. -5 plus -1, and -5 subtract +1. Again, the answer is the same. 6 plus +3, and 6 minus -3. So carefully look at each of the statements to see what you notice. Here's a few more. -1 plus -7, and -1 minus a +7. Both -8, and 12 plus +5, and 12 subtract -5, both 17. So instead of looking at the answer, now I want you to focus on the second integer. What do you notice here? You might have noticed that they were the same but opposites. -2, +2, -1, +1, and so on. And of course, we changed each of the addition signs to a subtraction sign. So what's happening here is adding the opposite is the same as subtracting. So we just essentially developed our rule for subtracting integers. Our rule is to simply add the opposite. So what does that mean? Well, we'll change the subtraction sign to an addition sign. Then we'll also change the sign of the second integer. Note that we don't change the first integer at all. The first integer stays the same. So let's look at this example. If I have a +4, subtract a +6, I'm going to change that to +4 plus a -6. So notice that the first integer did not change, that's the same. I changed the subtraction to an addition sign. And then the second integer changed sign. It went from a +6 to a -6. So now that it's simply an addition statement, we can just follow the rules for addition that we learned in the previous video. So now let's practice. Determine the difference. So as a reminder, we need to add the opposite. So we have -5, subtract +7. Let's change that to -5 plus a -7. Now, like I said, because it's now an addition, we can just use the addition rules that we learned. So you have to consider the different cases here, though. If you're adding two negatives, you add the numbers and make the answer negative. If you're adding a positive and a negative, you subtract and take the sign of the larger integer. So I'm adding two negatives here, so I'm going to add them together to give me 12 and then make it negative. Now for b, I'm going to change this to +9 plus a +9. And we learned that when you add two positives, that's just the same as adding 9 plus 9, which is 18. Now for c, I have -22 plus, and change it to a +20. So one's positive, one's negative. Let's subtract. And I notice that I have more negatives here. So my answer is going to be -2. Now for D, when you first see this, you might want to automatically just add the opposite. But you may want to consider that +13 is just the same as 13, and +5 is the same as 5. So this is simply 13 minus 5, which is 8. So in order to subtract, you need to make sure you're comfortable with your addition rules. So now you can move on to the next video in this lesson.